Saturn in Sagittarius. In this video, I'm going to be discussing Saturn in Sagittarius, everything you need to know about having Saturn in Sagittarius, and how to truly master this placement, all right? Now, before I begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you've liked my previous videos, if you like this current video that we're doing now, and you'd like to be notified of my future videos, okay? Make sure you hit that subscribe button, help me grow the channel, help grow the astrology community, okay? Saturn in Sagittarius, let's begin. Now, when you have Saturn in Sagittarius, this is similar to having Saturn in the ninth house. So what this means is that if you were to study Saturn in the ninth house descriptions, it sounds a lot like you, and you can apply that information to your life. So even if you have your Saturn in a different house, like you have Saturn in the first house, that's okay. Study that. But you also want to study Saturn in the ninth house because that information does apply to you as well, because Sagittarius rules the ninth house, okay? Now, this person, this Saturn in Sagittarius person, in order to mature and become a true adult, they have to master what Sagittarius represents. See, Saturn is all about what you have to do to mature and become a true adult. It's about the things that you have to master. Let's discuss what Sagittarius represents. Sagittarius represents being optimistic, being a truth seeker and a knowledge seeker. It represents freedom, expanding your experiences and embracing other cultures, being a teacher, a professor, higher education like college, religion, and philosophy. So these are all the things that Sagittarius represents and all the things that Sagittarius are associated with. So it's important for you in your life to master these areas of life, okay? Master being optimistic, being a truth seeker, a knowledge seeker. Master the whole concept of obtaining freedom. Master expanding your experiences, embracing other cultures. Master being a teacher, a professor, higher education, college, religion, and philosophy, okay? So this is important for you to master these things, and also travel as it relates to expanding your experiences, because you have to travel to expand your experiences. This person, when living out Saturn and Sagittarius in a healthy way, okay, so this is when Saturn and Sagittarius is being expressed in a healthy, high vibrational way. You've mastered higher education, philosophy, and higher knowledge. You're well traveled and you've accumulated a lot of experiences in your life. You've mastered the concept of obtaining freedom. Now, that could be financial freedom, mental freedom, physical freedom, whatever. You've mastered the concept of obtaining freedom. You've added structure to your big ideas, okay? So this is when you're living out Saturn and Sagittarius in a healthy, high vibrational way. You've mastered higher education, philosophy, higher knowledge. You're well traveled. You've accumulated a lot of experiences. You've mastered the concept of obtaining idea, and you've added structure to your big ideas. Okay? This person, when living out Saturn and Sagittarius in a negative way, meaning this is when you're living out your Saturn and Sagittarius in a negative, low vibrational way. You're not self-aware of what you're supposed to be doing. You don't expand your experiences and expand your mind. You put yourselves in situations that cost you your freedom. You have big ideas, but you don't know how to execute them and add structure to them. All right. So this is when you're operating in a low vibrational way. You don't expand your experiences and expand your mind, meaning you just stay in a very limited spectrum of thinking. You don't expand your mind. Like you don't even travel. You don't expand your mind and expand your experiences. You just stay to your local environment. You put yourselves in situations that cost you your freedom. You have big ideas, but you don't know how to execute them and add structure to them. All right. So you want to make sure that you're not operating in a low vibrational way. There are fears and insecurities surrounding. Now, Saturn has to do with your fears and insecurities, and the fears and insecurities that you have to overcome. So there are fears and insecurities surrounding optimism, faith, higher knowledge, freedom, traveling, and expansion, religion, and philosophy. So you have to think, how do my fears and insecurities relate to these matters, and how do I overcome that? Do you have fears that you will never be able to obtain a degree? Like, man, I want to go to school and I want to get a degree, but what if I'm not good enough? What are your fears and insecurities surrounding these matters? Okay, so you have to look at whatever your fears and insecurities are surrounding these matters, overcome them. Okay, so that's very important. Overcome any fears and insecurities that have to do with optimism, having big ideas, faith, higher knowledge, like higher education. Overcome your insecurities that have to do with your obtaining your freedom, traveling, expansion, and religion and philosophy. Okay, so make sure you overcome those fears and insecurities. The father is seen as, see, Saturn has to do with your father and how you see your father. So the father is seen as Sagittarius like. He's seen as well traveled, knowledgeable, optimistic, opinionated, and a rolling stone. So, this is how you saw your father. You saw him as a man that was well traveled, knowledgeable, optimistic, opinionated, and he was a rolling stone, like he kept moving. Okay. And you probably also saw him as like blunt and opinionated and a funny guy. So, you basically saw your father as a Sagittarius like man. Celebrity example that also has Saturn in Sagittarius: Michael Jackson and Martin Luther King Jr. Now, what's funny with Michael Jackson is because I was trying to figure out, I'm like, how does Saturn and Sagittarius play out in his life? What's funny is when I found out that Michael Jackson had an overwhelming fear of planes. And it's so funny because Sagittarius rules traveling, airlines, and airplanes. And he had an overwhelming fear of airplanes. He did not like to travel by plane, especially when he was a kid, and he really had to overcome that. So that's how you see that these things play out in life. Now there's many other ways. There's many other ways that you can see how this plays out with Michael Jackson. Another way how you see it with Michael Jackson is, you notice Michael Jackson, he understood the importance of having your freedom because he owned publishing rights. He owned his own publishing rights, and he went out of his way to own the publishing rights of others. I believe he owned the Beatles catalog. Like, he owned some of the biggest catalogs in the game, because you see, Saturn is all about mastering the concept of freedom. You've mastered the concept of obtaining freedom. And that was a big thing with Michael Jackson. And he helped a lot of other artists obtain their freedom. He would get the publishing rights for artists and sell them back their publishing rights. Like, I've sold you back your freedom and I've helped you obtain your freedom because I understand how important it is to own your publishing rights and be a free person and free to publish and own what you publish and your creativity. Martin Luther King, we absolutely saw how this played out with him. Martin Luther King was a very opinionated man. He was a preacher. He was a pastor. So, I mean, it's very self-explanatory. He was a typical Saturn and Sagittarius man. He mastered his opinions. He mastered religion. He mastered traveling, expanding your experiences. He would travel all over the world spreading his message. And it actually cost him. He was actually killed for his opinions. So, that's how you see that with Saturn and Sagittarius. We can get into that more, but I don't want this video to run on too long. That's Saturn and Sagittarius. I hope you learned something from this video. I hope you gained value from this video. Thank you for taking the time out to watch my video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Take care.